right here. Okay. And put the same thing on the other leg. Alright, so I'm going to have a 1/4 inch shoulder at the top and the bottom of the stretcher. So that means 2/4 is a half, so I'm going to have 3 inches in between. So I'm going to mark this up to 8.5 inches. Mark that right there. Good job, sweetie. Oh, that's a good line. I'm able to see that good. Good job. Alright, now, we're not really concerned about the side parts of the legs right now, so we're just going to get those out of the way, and we're going to take our square and square up these lines that we made. Went ahead and attempted to use my table saw here since these boards aren't so long, and I'm cutting curves the same way that I did on the top rails, and cutting them out the same way as well. Now I'm just pretty much following the same process. I'm going halfway in between the the bottom part of the centerpiece and halfway through the top part of the centerpiece, just like that. And I'm doing my guide pins first, just like the top rails, and I'm recessing the bolt as soon as I make the drill go the right way. Pull that out, and then I follow all the way through, and I have to do the same thing since it's just as thick as the top rail. I have to do the same thing where I take the bottom piece and push the guide pin through, and then go ahead and cut out the recess for the nut, just like so. And again for the other side as well. Now I'm all ready for glue up here, getting everything lined up, and I'm about to start gluing up, and then spread on my glue and disaster strikes. Do you want to see something funny? Look what I did here. I actually wasn't paying attention to my marks, and I switched the boards. And now I've got this glue on the side, which is pretty much gonna keep me from being able to clamp all this up together. So one at a time, thanks to my little mix-up. I ended up washing that off with a wet washcloth, which got it looking pretty clean, but it probably would have left a residue for any kind of finish I would have put on it. Well, I think my daughter's done with the garage for the day, and thank goodness. I mean, I love when she comes in, but normally when she comes in, I'm worried about what I'm doing and what she's doing at the same time. But since I'm shooting this video, I'm worried about what I'm doing, where the camera's looking at, and what she's doing. So maybe I can relax just a little bit now, sit down, and take the time to chisel out these mortises. Now remember, I left that centerpiece in there. It's kind of ugly, but it doesn't really matter because all of this is going away. You'll want to go most of the way through one side and then finish it up from the other side, and finish off with a big chunk and pare away the ends of the mortise here. And looks pretty good. I approve. And now for the long stretchers. After cutting my stretcher to length, I'm going to go ahead and save myself some measuring, and also check my measurement and line up each end of the stretcher with the outside of the mortises. Take my pencil and mark at the inside edge, and I'll do the same on the other side. This is not the way I'd normally cut a tenon, but I'm going to showcase this awesome $3 tenon saw. Actually, I find the more I use it, the better it gets. I'm going to saw down, and I'm going to reach my line here. I'm going to check several times so I don't saw past it. And here we go, cut, check it several times. Maybe it doesn't work that good. Then I'm going to do something a little unorthodox and take a chisel and take out that long piece. And on straight grain, this works out pretty good. On the other end, I ran into a knot, and it was really painful to try to pull that out. But you know, I got it out eventually, And you see me checking to make sure that it's splitting along the line here, kind of like a lumberjack splitting a log, and pull that piece up just like that, and I'll pare away some of the rough stuff. When wood tears, you have a lot of tear out, oddly enough. So I'll pare that down to the line that I've already marked. Draw bore pinning. I'm going to take my 3/8 inch bit and drill as far as it will go, which is not quite through the other side, but it gets me through through the mortise quite fine. I'm going to square this up after I fit the joint and put the bit that I used in and poke it through. It's not quite the right bit, but you know what? It worked out fine. I was just real careful about measuring out my line and then drilling the second hole through the actual tenon. And you see I'm marking 1/16 through, and I'm going to drill that. Notice I'm taking my time to make sure that I'm square and that I'm actually hitting the mark that I put on the tenon. And then I'm going to fit the leg back to it and whittle down a piece of 3-inch dowel. When you do this, you want to make sure, if you're using a store-bought dowel, that the grain is straight through it, because if it's not, it's really kind of a waste of time. And I'm not going to use any glue on this joint other than that on that pin, because I don't want that pin to go anywhere. I'm going to make sure the leg is in good. I'm going to put a little glue in the hole. Since it doesn't go all the way through, I'm not worried about it dripping out the other side. I put a little glue on the pin, and then I'm going to drive the pin home. It's kind of getting stuck at the tenon point right here, and this is where it bends around the hole that I put in the tenon, since it's slightly offset toward the shoulder. And I'm going to drive that home. And I noticed kind of a tone change as soon as I bottomed out, and I just keep hitting it because I'm not sure if that tone changes because for whatever reason other than it hitting bottom. And that's, you see I'm relieved there. A draw bore pin would have been really useful here. Now for the short stretchers, for the width of the bench. What I did here is I marked down, I measured to the inside of the long stretchers and subtracted that measurement from the 24 inches that I wanted for the width of the bench. And now for the I guess you'd say runners going across, I'm going to mark those out. What I'm doing here is I'm marking 10.5 inches from the end and from each end, and I'm going to put these on 15-inch centers. If you're not familiar with centers, it's pretty much where you mark out your lines. It's used in construction a lot, and you put the center of your stretcher on that. I got a little trick for that for the for doing the stretchers. You notice I didn't cut any mortises or anything for that. What I'm going to use are these little doohickeys right here. I can't remember what they're called, but I bought 8 of them for 99 cents. I'm actually too short, so I'm not going to do the center stretcher just yet. But it sits, that center stretcher sits on that, and it's actually going to be a good way to do things. I struggled with this a little bit, but I eventually got it worked out good. You see I got winding sticks on. You don't have a good perspective on it, but I did. And I know that this end is kind of high over here. And I tested all along the length. This is my second handmade plane. But you know, it's a work in progress. It's coming along, and I got a stretcher that's sitting kind of high right there. And what I'm doing here is I'm going to actually kind of rough cut using the footprint of my skill saw as a guide. I'm going to kind of rough cut off the end of this door that I'm using for the bench top, and then I'm going to use that as a straight edge guide to cut the rest of it off. And you see there, it's coming off just like that. I don't have any support. It's going to go bam, but I'm keeping my feet out of the way.